Ever shared this? Or this? Nothing like a good reaction GIF, right?
Why yes, in fact, I am a fan of reaction GIFs, either sharing ones I find or making them myself. They serve a very valuable communicative purpose. It's difficult to express tone or emotion in text if you have a very limited amount of text to work with. My tweet doesn't have enough room for character development or scene setting. It has enough room for maybe 3 sentences. Balancing out the relatively muted text with the relatively emotive GIF completes the tweet.
But you've probably noticed the most popular ones are of black people being dramatic.
Well, congratulations to those black people for being the best example of the emotion they were trying to convey. I'm sure the actors and comedians you displayed as examples would appreciate that sentiment.
This is digital blackface.
Well, darn. Here I was thinking that Michael Jackson and Donald Glover were just quality entertainers, but I've once again forgotten to make race the defining characteristic about these people. I thought of them as more than just black, and that's my bad. Next time, I'll be sure to boil these people down to little more than their skin color, because I wouldn't want to be racist.
Blackface is when a non-black person uses makeup to blacken up.
And by blacken up, you mean take the role of and portray yourself as a black person, correct? If I tweet out a GIF of Michael Jackson eating popcorn, that is not me assuming the role of Michael Jackson. That's me saying I relate heavily to the emotions that Michael Jackson is intentionally portraying. But apparently it's the case that a white person relating to the emotions of a black person is racist.
Minstrel shows depicted black people in all sorts of negative ways. They were mocking, demeaning stereotypes, and they exaggerated black people's facial features and their expressions.
The person who tweets out the GIF is not the person portraying the blackness. That would be the black actor portraying the blackness. Are these black celebrities poorly portraying themselves? Are they bad representatives of blackness? It's interesting that you seem to be implying that black people fit a particular mold that is not the mold that is being set. You are the arbiter of what is and is not proper blackness, and as the arbiter, you've decided that these black actors are not blacking correctly. Black is a kind of personality that you have identified, and as such, we should hold certain expectations about it. Just not these expectations. Digital blackface would be more analogous to using a black avatar when you're not black, and I think we can all agree that using a black avatar when you're not black is racist. What?
And digital blackface is the 21st century version of that. White people using GIFs to perform some kind of exaggerated blackness.
Who is exaggerating the blackness? Because that's not an exaggeration, that is a black performer performing. Kevin Hart isn't acting black, he is black. If you've taken issue with Kevin Hart's portrayal of himself, why are you addressing white people and not Kevin Hart?
And that's not all. Let's talk about white people using dark-skinned emojis. This is a form of cultural appropriation, paying little respect to someone else's culture and using it however you please.
Firstly, it's never been adequately explained to me why there's something wrong with using parts of other people's cultures, so if you want to complain about cultural appropriation, make that case first. But secondly, dark skin is not a culture, so it cannot be culturally appropriated. Unless you think that a person's skin color, i.e. their genetics, informs their culture. In which case, congratulations BBC, you're endorsing race realism. I honestly didn't expect that one from you.
So what's wrong with white people posting these GIFs and using these emojis?
Obviously it's because race is the key defining characteristic about a person, and people of different races are simply not compatible with one another. Integration was a mistake, ethno-state now.
Well, black people are not here for other people's entertainment.
Not even the entertainers? The ones trying to be entertaining? Should white people simply not enjoy and consume their content because they're black? Your goal is presumably to reduce racism, and the way you want to go about achieving that end is basically to impose social media segregation. This is a black person GIF. You're not allowed to use it, white boy. Stay in your lane. Use the GIFs appropriate for your kind.
We're not symbols of excessive emotion, and we aren't here to make you look more sassy, more sexy, or more street.
Why are you speaking to me in that British accent? That doesn't sound like the culture associated with your skin tone. British people aren't here to make you sound more educated or sophisticated. Give them their language back.
We don't want to be seen as having two-dimensional personalities.
GIFs and emojis are literally two-dimensional, regardless of who uses them and regardless of who they depict. They are not intended to or capable of representing the breadth of any particular person's personality. This is not a limitation of black GIFs, this is a limitation of GIFs. So why is it that you've chosen to focus specifically on whites using black GIFs and not people of one race using the GIFs of people of another race? It's because you're specifically the victim. This transgression is worse when it happens to you or your kind. It wouldn't even be a transgression the other way around. Because racism is a road that only goes one way.
Let us decide for ourselves how we wish to be perceived.
You don't get to choose how you're perceived. That is at the discretion of the person perceiving you. How absurd is it to imply that you can control someone else's opinion of you? Aside from that ludicrous demand, it's also hypocritical, because that's not a sentiment you extend to the black celebrities that you apparently seem to be taking issue with. Because, as discussed earlier, you think they're blacking wrongly.
Now, I'm not saying you have to be black to post these GIFs.
It's not that you need to be black to post these GIFs. You just need to be black to post these GIFs and not also be racist. Because doing so is basically the same as performing a minstrel show.
But what I am saying is think about what you're doing. Ask yourself why you're always drawn to that GIF or that emoji.
Carefully consider why it is that you enjoy the work of black entertainers, or just black people in general. You shouldn't. Because you're white, and they're black, and those are two things that just don't go together.
So that's my view. But what do you think?
I think people are treating victimhood as a social currency, and it happens to be in high demand within certain circles. They attempt to maximize it and then capitalize on it to either benefit themselves or to control the behavior of people in the outgroup, with a high degree of overlap between those two. I can't know whether or not you are doing this intentionally. The people who engage in this behavior seem to be made up of two groups, the malicious and those the malicious have indoctrinated. I can say this though. This video is antithetical to the maximization of your stated values. If you are in fact interested in increased racial harmony, being possessive over what people can and cannot say in regards to race is detrimental to that end. Your views are both abhorrent and inefficient, but even worse, they're anti-fun. These abhorrent and inefficient views are partly informed by an overemphasis on the importance of race. Lighten up, stop taking race so seriously.